Good morning and good afternoon, guys. Good to see you. Happy Monday. I hope you all are doing well. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. Gosh, you guys have been busy in the chat today. Before I get into the talking about James Bond, let me say hi to everybody. So, Project Storytime claimed first today. Good morning, Project Storytime. We've got Chris Persia and Mark the Infinitely Tired. The Bash Brothers are here. Hello, guys. Good to see you. And a massive thank you to Kendra L and a warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate that, Kendra. Hope you're having a good day today. Let's see who else is joined. We have got Snorterpoopers Cuba. Hello, good to see you. Good afternoon to Firefly and to Archer Colin. Hello, gentlemen. Good to see you. Arwen Avalon. Good morning, honey. Good to see you. Let's see who else. Nearsighted Cyclops. Hello there. Good to see you. The Script Doctor. Greetings. Hey there. Deadman Walking. Good morning to you. Good to see you. Let's see who else we've got. We've got Andrew 46 and 2. Good to see you. Keely Chan, Roll Tide Keely. Pod Racing Palpatine, good afternoon. Wendology and the Darren Zone. Good afternoon, guys. Great to see you as always. Let's see who else we've got joined. We've got Dave G Sound, Mr. Haha Oni. Good to see you guys as well. Welcome. We've got Perez. Welcome, Perez. Rab Marshall, Troy Mastelli. Hello, guys. Great to see you all. And I know I've seen Southern Cecil and Mobile Recluse. Hello, guys. Hello and welcome. And we've got a couple more super chats that I saw. So we had one from Psychodorf. Thank you so much, Psychodorf. He sent us a $5 super chat. He says, going to play Cowboys and Targets with Kyle Style, Shockwave and Gun Bunny. See you on the replay. Have a fantastic day, Psychodwarf, and many thanks. Thank you, sweetheart, as always. And we had a super chat from Mexican Iron Man, Papi. Thank you so much. He says, with the demise of Classic Bond, my new script, No Time for Salsa, follows the heroic special agent Double O Taco on his efforts to re-establish the, in quotations, special relationship between the UK and USA. I need a Bond taco girl. Purple? Thank you so much, Mexican Iron Man. It's always great to see you. Mexican Iron Man is the hero that we need, but not the one that we deserve. And a warm welcome and a huge thank you to Mobile Recluse, who's also joined. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Having you guys join me, it's well, what can I say? I am incredibly grateful. Thank you so much, both of you. So, and hello to Leah Rose, who I think was actually first, if I remember correctly, because she said that Tom Hiddleston would make a great Bond. So, massive thank you to you and welcome, Leah. Good to see you. So, guys, let's talk Bond. Now, I will preface this before I start talking about the film. Daniel Craig was never my favourite Bond, I've got to admit. The only film of his that I really liked was Casino Royale, I think, would probably be the only one that I really enjoyed of his. I think he took a really different take on Bond. I think they tried to make him a more modern day and kind of bring him, mute him down a little bit, but that's not what Bond is about. Bond is all about, it is the male fantasy. It's been said before, guys want to be him and women want to have him. And I really miss that. Project Storytime, absolutely agree. Sean Connery above all others, absolutely. Sean Connery will always be my Bond. He was always my favourite. I liked others, I liked Pierce Brosnan, but Connery is, for me, always Bond. Mark asked, you didn't like Skyfall? I did, in part, but it didn't do it for me. Like I say, there's just something about Daniel Craig that just rubs me the wrong way. I just don't think he's a great Bond. I wasn't completely sad that this is the last film that he is doing. And I don't think he is either, because he really didn't seem to be having fun in this film. Sahar says Casino Royale was great. The others were forgettable for me. When Donna G says she's a Connery girl as well. Absolutely. And Pod Racing Palpatine says, I totally believe that Craig's Bond is a government-paid assassin. Yes, they tried to make him more, I suppose, grounded as a character. I think that would probably be the best way to do it, or best way to describe it. I know it's been said that he's kind of supposed to be closer to the Bond in the books that Fleming wrote. But each to their own, I guess. But we've had so many different Bonds. So, No Time to Die, a film that's been pushed back 3 times, I believe. It was supposed to have been out last year. We had a trailer that really didn't sell the film to a lot of people. It was described in interviews that the cast did as a Bond for the Me Too time, and I think that put a lot of people off. Is this a bad film? Yes and no. It's a very long film. It's the longest James Bond film that I can remember. Nearly, I think it was 163 minutes, which is even longer than Spectre. And sitting in the theatre, you really feel it. I think 2 or 3 times whilst I was watching that film, I glanced down at my watch to see how long this film had been going, and we were nowhere near the end of the film. So I was like, oh my god, you could have trimmed probably a good 40 minutes out of this film and it wouldn't have made that much difference to the plot, especially when it came to the overblown car chases. The first one in Italy I thought was actually really well done. All of the others that came after, I could have done without, to be honest. And I know that's part of the whole Bond franchise. It's the car chases, it's the him escaping from the bad guys, but it kind of got a little bit long for me. Now, for you guys, I think it released only recently, but in the UK and internationally, it came out September 30th. I saw it on Sunday. The theatre was about half full, again, on a Sunday afternoon. But I think it's done better here than it has other places, which is understandable because Bond is it's a British franchise and one that we take quite seriously. Oh, love you too, Mexican Iron Man. Thank you so much. Always good to see you. Speak for the Dead. Hello, good to see you. This is Bond. This Bond film should have been Live and Let It Die. I absolutely agree. And Pettis says, how long is that in metric hours? That's getting on towards 3 hours. So it felt it, but like I said, you could have trimmed quite a bit of that and it wouldn't have made a massive amount of difference. And hello and warm welcome to Jedi Knight Lego Hall. Good to see you. It says, first time I've caught one of your streams. Well, warm welcome, sweetheart. Great to see you. I know we were chatting last night on Kai's channel. Welcome to you. Good to see you. So... And Leah says, thank you, Purple Valkyrie, for announcing Tom Hiddleston should be cast as James Bond. I don't know who the next James Bond will be, but I do think that going forward, the franchise is not going to be what it once was. We are not going to get this male power fantasy Bond again. I think because of what we've had with Daniel Craig, I think the next Bond will be of a very similar nature. Now, we've had names like Tom Hiddleston, we've had Tom Hardy, Idris Elba has been put forward. Now, any of these guys could definitely fill the role of Bond, but will they encapsulate the character and bring back the charismatic, suave Bond that we used to have? I don't know. I know a lot of people kind of were put off by the more campy side that we had with Roger Moore. But at least it was very tongue-in-cheek humour. These recent films have been very they've played it very safe. You know, the humour isn't there, even the self-aware humour. Now they tried that with this film, and it was kind of tongue-in-cheek. There were a few kind of funny moments, you know, there's a few silly moments that they played upon, but on the whole, it was played very, very straight. And the one thing that I did notice watching this film, it seems to have been cut up a lot. I think there were a lot of reshoots. You can see where one director took over from the other. It's jarring in some places, and you can definitely see that Lashana Lynch's character has been cut down. Is she as irritating and insufferable as she came across in the trailer? No, she's not. No, she's not as antagonistic towards Craig's character as she appeared, and thank God that we don't have that awful scene that was reported on, because that really would have put a bullet in the franchise. She's a capable character, but she just kind of fades into the background with this. And Pod Racing Palpatine says Roger Moore played Bond as the Saint. Indeed, absolutely. Seven Season says give Bond a rest for a few years and bring back Jaws with a spin-off where he walks around biting people. That's a possible. And the one thing also that I did notice, there was a lot of callbacks to previous Bond films. You know, there was a lot of member berries. There was callbacks to Her Majesty's Secret Service. This film in itself is a direct follow-on from Spectre. So there's a lot of kind of callbacks to what's gone before. Chris Persia says purple with the direction things are going / gone. Gone will be the days of a machismo suave Bond. I wouldn't have been surprised if they cast Ollie Alexander as the reboot Bond. Don't give them any ideas, Chris, please, for goodness sake. But I agree. Yeah, I think the whole idea that Bond is, you know, misogynistic, I think that's going to be thrown out of the window now. We're not going to see another Bond like we had with Connery, most definitely. GovGod 13, hello love, he says, another serious sacrifice on the altar of modernity. James Bond is dead. Yes. And guys in the chat, let me know, do you want me to go into spoilers, or do you just want to keep it general for anybody who hasn't seen the film yet? Because I can do that as we go along. Archer Colin asks, is there anything in the trailers which is obviously missing from the films? Not really. It's more the tone that's changed in the film. So whereas the tone of the trailer between Lashana Lynch and between Daniel Craig's characters was very antagonistic, you know, they go with the line where she says, stay in your lane. If you get in my way, I'll shoot you in the knee. And then she adds the one that works. Now that line is still in the film, but it doesn't have the same impact when she says it to him, because he just kind of rolls his eyes at her. It's like, yeah, sure, honey, of course you will. So she's not this all-powerful, I'm going to take over character that I think they really wanted to make her. She's definitely been toned down in the film. Andy Masterson, good to see you. He says, how many women actually want masculine men? I've always found women to detest weak men. I would absolutely agree with you, yes. Is the archetype of Bond, you know, kind of a dinosaur and a throwback? Yes, he is. But as we've said before, he is a male power fantasy, and there is nothing wrong with that. Let guys have this, you know, suave, sophisticated spy character that gets to travel the world and save the day and gets all the ladies. There is nothing wrong with having this kind of character. And Pod Racing Palpatine nods to when he injured his knee on Spectre. Exactly. Yeah, like I said, there is a lot of kind of throwbacks to previous films, and, you know, kind of nudging the audience like, you remember this, guys? You remember when this happened? Because we do. And Colin says, I rather suspect the biggest spoiler has been well and truly blown. I wonder how the makers expected it to remain a secret. Yeah, pretty much. And, Daniel Craig wasn't exactly shy about that he wanted this to be his last film. I would feel bad for him for the way his character ended, but he is producer on this film. So, you kind of get what you deserve. So let me go over a little bit of the plot. It takes place 5 years after the event of Spectre. Bond is now retired again. Bond retires a hell of a lot. And he's got a new lady in his life. He wants to move forward. He doesn't want anything to do with anything that's going on. And he is dragged back in because of this huge plot that he basically wants nothing to do with. One of his most trusted allies, Felix Leiter, tells him about a missing scientist and this powerful, but originally they think it's some sort of bio weapon. It turns out it's actually nanotechnology. And he's dragged back in to once again save the day, albeit reluctantly this time, whilst trying to come to terms with his past, trying to see if there's any way that he could have a future, and having this kind of on again, off again antagonistic relationship with the new 007 who has replaced him. She's younger, she's female, and she's very much a high achiever, and she's not shy about telling him that. She even says to him at one point when somebody says, hello 007, and I think it's Moneypenny who actually says it, and both of them look up, and she kind of gives him this side look and says, that really bothers you, doesn't it? So it's this kind of back and forth that these two characters have throughout the film. Andy Matheson says more Austin Powers. I would love some more Austin Powers. Pod Racing Palpatine Lynch is there to show time, and MI6 have moved on. She's the by the book, and Bond is a maverick. Even Q and Moneypenny learn from him. Absolutely, yeah. It's very much kind of they're trying to get back to regulation, I guess is the best way to put it. And Bond has always been, somebody who will play by his own rules, but he still gets the job done. So she's a lot more of a safe character, I think. So where did we get to? As I said, the film is very, very long. And what struck me most as well is how long the intro is before we even get to the song. And the song is, I actually hated it, by Billie Eilish. We've had so many great Bond themes. This one is completely forgettable, but it's got to be a good 20 minutes of film before we even get to the opening credits. It's really, really strange. I don't believe that there is that much story to tell, but because it's such a convoluted plot, they drag it out. We had a few people write and direct. So it was directed by Carrie Jo Fukunaga. And we've also had the producer, which was Michael G. Wilson, and the other producer, I think, was Barbara Broccoli, if I remember correctly. But we've also had writers in Neil Purvis, Robert Wave, and most importantly, Phoebe Waller-Bridge came on also to write. And you can see the scenes that she wrote because it's almost jarring throughout the film, and it kind of takes you out of the plot. They tried, I think, very, very hard with the cuts and reshoots to try and make this story coherent, but it's a little bit of a jumbled mess. Cast-wise, we had, obviously, Craig doing his final turn as the spy. We've got Ralph Fiennes' return. We've got a new love interest in Anna de Armas, who's well, not really a love interest, I suppose. She plays a very small role as a CIA agent, Paloma, but I would have liked to have seen more of her rather than Naomi Harris, who plays the love interest. And we also had a brand new villain, Rami Malek, who plays Safin, who I think he's a fine actor. I actually really like him as a person, but he was very forgettable in this. Um, I'm not quite sure why he did it, but he went with this kind of whispery, raspy voice, and it's actually really hard to understand what he's saying some of the time, and it kind of takes you out of it when you're straining to understand what his motivation is. Basically, what he wants is revenge. He wants revenge for what happened to his family, and he will stop at pretty much nothing to get it. But what isn't apparent is, what happens once he succeeds. Where do you go from there? He's, with the help of the scientists, has developed this super weapon that can target specific people. So depending on how it's coded, you can take out either an individual or you can take out an entire race. So it's a bit of a MacGuffin, I would say. Pod Racing Palpatine says, "Can we get a Paloma spin-off?" No particular reason, just asking. Well, at least she was a fun character. It was a silly scene, especially where she said, "Yeah, I've only had 3 weeks training," but a couple of scenes later, she's kicking ass in a in high heels and a very barely there dress. But at least she was fun, and that's probably one of my favorite scenes from the movie, because they didn't take it too seriously. You have a great day too, Golgo 13. Hope you have a fun one. Mark says, so is Moneypenny being played by Chris Hemsworth now? Oh god, yeah. Can you imagine? Unfortunately, I can. And Pod Racing Palpatine says, for the record, I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed parts of the film, which is why this film was so kind of confusing for me. Usually, I either love a Bond film or I hate a Bond film, but this one, I don't know whether it's because of the plot or whether because of the length or because of so many things that they kind of threw at you. There were bits that I liked. I thought it was well directed. I thought it was well shot. All of the locations, especially when they're filming in Italy, look beautiful. There were great scenes in Norway. I think they are. It's always great, obviously, when you see London and the skyline that's so familiar to a lot of people. But there's just something that didn't work, and I think it was actually the length of the film. Hello to Max Relax. It says, the new Bond could be a vegetarian, doesn't drink any alcohol, travels by bicycle and train, and his enemy is climate change. A modern day Bond indeed. Oh my gosh. And a massive thank you to Phoenix Tangent, who sent us a $5 tip. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Stream Elements has been playing up recently, but it actually finally updated. So a huge thank you to you, and for the message that you also sent yesterday about the Band of Brothers stream. It said one of the best World War II docudramas ever made. I absolutely agree. So a huge thank you to you and for your support, honey. I really appreciate that. Firefly says, opening songs are more depressing. Last good one, in my opinion, was Skyfall. I'd agree with that as well. This one that we have is very forgettable. And as I said, we've had great, Bond themes, and that's one of the things that people look forward to as well. People really like the opening credits of Bond. Who's going to be singing the theme? But this one, wasn't impressed, to be honest. Chris Persia says, all right, serious question here. Was this better than Quantum of Solace? For me, it was, but not by much. Yes. And this is somebody who did not like Quantum of Solace at all. So, yes. Project Storytime says, how do you screw up a Bond opening? You'd think it would be easy, after, 25 films? They would have had the formula down. But I think it's because the intro was so long and people were expecting it to pop up, and when it finally does arrive, you just don't care because you've had a good 20 minutes of film already. I think that's what the problem was. But we did have a couple more characters join. We had Christoph Waltz come back as Ernest Blofeld. I love Christoph Waltz. I think he's a fantastic character, but he didn't really have much to do. And the other main character that obviously is introduced, she is the love interest of Bond, and she's pretty much the pivotal character in this, is Leia Seydoux, I believe it's pronounced, and she plays Madeline Swan. So she is back, and she has a much bigger role, obviously, in this film than she had before. I don't dislike her. I think she's a very competent actor, but the character herself was very one-dimensional. It's fallen into the trap that a lot of female characters have had recently, not just in James Bond, but we've seen it across the board. It's this female character who ends up being the most important character, whereas this should have been Daniel Craig's swan song. It should have been all about his Bond, about him coming to terms with either being replaced or, bowing out gracefully. Archie Collins says, not sure even when I watched Spectre. Since when was Blofeld Bond's foster brother? Yes, that is the case. That's what they go for. It's reiterated in this film as well. And Mobile Recluse says, Casino Royale felt like a Bond film, but doing it 5 times is just tiring. Yeah, I'd agree with that. A lot of the Daniel Craig's films, they followed a very similar pattern. I think it was definitely time for him to move on. And the one thing that I did notice in this film is, yes, he does a lot of his own stunts. He looks great, but he is looking old now. I can see why he wanted to bow out. Mr. Oni says, if he'd swatted her on the butt and winked, it would have been more Bond. It would have been, but he probably would have been cancelled, unfortunately. But yes, that is a very Bond move, And if I remember correctly, Sean Connery did that in one of his films. So let's have a look, see what else we can talk about. As I said, we had the No Time to Try track. Billie Eilish, never been a big fan of her, didn't care, so I can just kind of skip over that really, really quickly. A couple of characters that I think people were expecting to see. I think people were expecting to see Dr. No in this film. We didn't get it, but we did get someone kind of very similar in Malik's Safin character. He's got this kind of really his skin is messed up because of what he went through as a child. This is the thing that drives him. He wants revenge. And like I say, I like Malik. I think he's a very competent actor, but he was very forgettable in this. We've had some amazing adversaries for Bond over the years, and unfortunately, he's just not going to make the grade. He didn't come across as either threatening as a person when they're together in the same room. And to be honest, he's what he wants is very muddled. He says that he wants revenge, that he wants people to suffer the way he's suffered, but it becomes apparent what he actually wants is a family. So it less he's less threatening and more kind of a sad character, I found. Project Storytime says, Doctor, no, thank you. Indeed. Max Relax says, can't decide on the best Bond opening song, so I'll go with the Austin Powers opening song with the first movie. God, I'd love a new one. And Andy Masterson says, I feel bad for all the ladies that like a swat on the butt. Indeed. Firefly, Live and Let Die is a favourite. Live and Let Die is great. I love that film. It's so good. And like I said, watching this film makes me really miss the previous Bonds that we've had. You know, I do miss Sean Connery. I do miss even Roger Moore to a certain degree. But I really loved Pierce Brosnan. I thought he was great as well. And Paris says, oh, sweet. Yeah, it was. Or it should have been. But not exactly the reaction that you want from your villain of the story. You don't want to feel sorry for him. And that's another thing that writers seem to be doing a hell of a lot of recently. You know, they want the sympathetic villain. We can't have a bad guy being a bad guy just because of, you know, he wants to take over the world now. The one thing that wasn't apparent in this film is if his plans did succeed, where does he go from here? You know, would he have ever actually used this bioweapon, this nanotechnology to wipe people out? Would he have, you know, tried to sell it to somebody else? He certainly wiped out any competition that he had in Spectre. So there was really nobody that could have gone up against him. And I will be curious to see in subsequent James Bond films because, as the credits said, James Bond will be back. This isn't the last Bond film we will ever have. This is just Daniel Craig bowing out. You know, where do we go? Are we going? We're not going to see his character again because of what happens in the film. And that's something else that they seem to do a lot of. You know, there's no building up of a villain. He was a kind of cookie cutter character. He was the generic bad guy that Bond and Lashana Lynch's character had to go up against to take out. Max Reich says, I find Pierce Brosnan great, and GoldenEye, of course, being his best film. Agreed. Firefly says Bond will be back. Don't know where, don't know when. Indeed. I think it's a franchise that, as I said, is going to be a difficult one to do. Archer Collins says, I bet they're going for the James Bond is just a code name excuse. Well, they established that in the film. You know, it's been an idea that's been bandied around for a very long time. You know, all the actors that we've had are not the same James Bond, that it's simply just a code name, the same as 007 is just a number assigned to this particular spy. I think it's pretty obvious at this point that that's where they were going. Mexican Iron Man says, in my Bond Chaka film, I will take over the globe economy with my finance to to finance my lightsaber collection. Cue music. Project Storytime says, I remember the GoldenEye video game more than the movie. God, that was such a good game. Mark says GoldenEye was the only good Brosnan movie. You've got to ask the question, where do you go from here? When it comes to Bond, do you really want to Bond from this current time? No, and I think we came very, very close to getting that. Like I said, from the trailer, if anybody watched that, it was very, they were pushing it in this kind of Bond of a Me Too era. Fortunately, they seem to have come to their senses and dialed that back. There wasn't really, it wasn't really that woke. It wasn't really that obvious in the film. There were, elements of it there, but they certainly seem to have rewritten a lot of scenes. And speaking of scenes that can be rewritten and edited, there's this throwaway line with Q, who is apparently gay now. So I can't imagine where they will be removing that from for certain audiences. But there you have it. Project Storytime says take Bond back to the 60s. I'd like that, more of a kind of period type drama. I'd like to see that. And Pete, good to see you. Says, hey, if they have any sense, they should go retro with Bond. I think there'd be a good audience for that, I think you would hit the I think you would hit the long term fans, and I think it would be really kind of refreshing to go back after we've had this very modern take with Daniel Craig's Bond. And Jedi Knight Lego Purple Valkyrie is awesome. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's very sweet. What did I miss? I just saw a really good comment and it jumped on me. My apologies. Let's have a look, see what you guys were saying. Lizard Machine, good to see you. He says Brosnan was great until his last outing. Dalton was good. I like Dalton as well. I think he was a strong actor. And the thing with Bond, very much like the Doctor, you need a very charismatic actor to bring something new each time to the role. I think that's why it's lasted as long as it has, Let's see what else we can. I'm trying to avoid too many spoilers. I mean, like I said, most people will know by now how this ended with a bang. But the one thing I did notice about Craig is he looks very tired as a character. He looked like somebody who wanted this to be his last film. He hasn't been shy about that, saying it in interviews. I think that it took a lot for them to get him back to do this film. And I know a lot of people will blame the coof, but I'm actually glad that this film got put back as many times as it did, because I think we actually got a better film now released than what we would have done had it been released last year. I think had the film been released last year, without the cuts, without the rewrites, without the reshoots, without certain characters having their roles changed, I think it could have quite possibly killed the Bond franchise. I would be very curious to see if we ever get the either the script released online, or if we get a more coherent breakdown of what they actually wanted to do with this film. I'd be curious to see what was actually changed. But as it is, it wasn't as bad as I expected. And I know that's a terrible thing to say going into a film, but I did have low expectations. I enjoyed parts of it, absolutely. I thought the bits that I'd listed off earlier were very well done. Generally, the cast had good chemistry together. It was they're all very, very competent actors. Let's have a look, see what else we can bring up. The one thing I also think it is worth noting is this film was very much about ending a lot of plot points. We have a lot of people that were, integral to Craig's run of the character get ended themselves. We have characters that he had relationships with be killed off. This is very much about closing a door on this Bond, and whatever Bond we get next will be a entirely different beast to what we've had in the past. And hello to TZ Canadian. He says Critical Drinker would make a good Bond. I agree. I think Critical Drinker would make a fantastic Bond. Project Storytime, Craig looked tired in this film. Purple, he's looked tired of the character since Quantum of Solace. He has. I think it took a substantial pay to get him back to do this film. And Mexican Iron Man says Purple is right. The release date, this release delayed, was the best we could have gotten. I agree, Mexican Iron Man. I think this is one of the few films that having it pushed back and having them have the negative reaction, I think, to the trailer that people had. We've had people talking about this film for a good 12 months now, and we've talked about that infamous tampon scene that was hinted at. Now, whether that was ever going to be filmed or not, I don't know, but I am so glad that it wasn't. One, it's disgusting. Nobody wants to see that, women included. We do not need to see Bond behaving that way. And it doesn't do anything for the character. It wouldn't have done anything for Lashana Lynch's character. It doesn't make her a badass. It doesn't make her a more competent character. It's just done. It would have just been done for shock value. And I think it would have been absolutely ripped to shreds had they gone ahead with this particular scene. So thankfully, they decided not to. Project Storytimes asks, did Q develop regeneration technology since 007 keeps getting a new face? No, but he did develop a watch that really should have mitigated the problem that Bond had at the end of the film, since it sent out an electromagnetic pulse that really should have solved the big issue that he had with getting off the island. Archie Collins says, I suspect that scene may well have led to walkouts in cinema. I think it would have put a lot of people off, definitely. I think it would have been. And Mark says it makes the character disgusting. There are lines you don't cross in movies, and that was one of them. Absolutely, yeah. It would have just been, why did they think that that was a good idea to even hint at a scene like that could have been in a Bond film? I don't know. Whether they did that for shock value or to get people talking about the film because it was being delayed, I don't know. It is certainly possible. It's not the first time that a studio has put this, wacky idea out and people have jumped on it just to generate publicity, and it certainly did that. Let's have a look. Let's see what else we can come up. The one thing I will also note is that it's not streaming at the moment, if I remember correctly. I did check, I couldn't find it streaming anywhere. So No Time to Die is just in theatres at the moment. It is an exclusive theatrical worldwide release. Loki and Zeropium earlier this morning talked about the box office takings, and it's done well, but it has a massive budget to clear. So I think it's like 900 plus million that they need to make before they can break even. So, and at the moment, films are having a real hard time making a profit. Now, the reported budget for this particular film was 250 million, which makes it one of the most expensive films ever made. Studios seem to be very happy to just throw cash at a franchise. Now, you think, given what we've gone through in the last 18 months, they would be less thrilled about having such huge, expensive films made, but it doesn't seem to have deterred them. Now, do I think that No Time to Die is going to break even? It might just about scrape in. It depends. I know it's only just been released for you guys, but for us, it's been out for a little while now, and it's starting to drop off. As I said, I saw it on Sunday. The theatre that I was in, it was about half full, but this was on a weekend, so we had a lot more people with free time to go see it. And just talking about budgets, apparently Daniel Craig's, he was paid 25 million for this final appearance. which is around about 10 times more than he made for his first Bond film in 2006 in Casino Royale. Now, whether that's because he has such a big draw, I don't think it is. I think it's because he was so reluctant to come back and do this character. Especially since he said Spectre would be his last film. I think he probably is very glad to be rid of the character, which is a shame because once you get to play Bond, your legacy is secured. You know, this is a character that people love. He's been around for so long. You know, you get to be Bond and you think that this is an amazing character, but he really didn't seem it. And a massive thank you. Oops, it skipped on me. There we go. To MB Geek Let's Talk. Hello, Jesse. Thank you, sweetheart. It says, I recommend Guilty on Netflix. It is a great perspective, psychological thriller. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time with my wife. Nice. I will give it a go. I don't have Netflix anymore because of what happened. But I will take a look for it. So massive thank you for the recommendation. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate that. Andrew46 says, wait, what's the break-even cost? It's been reported that they need to make between 900 and 950 million for it to be considered a success. So they've got a ways to go yet. Jedi Knight, thanks for the awesome stream, Purple. Thank you, honey. He says, unfortunately, I have to go now. Have a great day, Purple Valkyrie, and wonderful chat. Also, I hate the character limit for YouTube names. Thank you. Have a fantastic day, and thank you for joining us. I really appreciate that. Pod Racing Palpatine says the film company suffered hefty fines due to the delayed release. Unfortunately, it has to try to make that money back. It's an unrealistic figure to reach. I would agree with you, to be honest. I think I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to try very hard. And I think once again, if it fails, the old fallback excuse will be the coof, or that people didn't want to go to cinemas. And that's not the case, because if they wanted to go see the film, the only place that you can see it is in the cinema. So they can't really say, oh, you know, people stayed home and watched it on streaming, because it was just there. Mark, 25 million to pay Bond. Hell, I'll play the part. Just a shorty around over 50 with a deep southern accent might not be appealing to most, but I'll damn sure play the part happily. Mark, I would absolutely love to see you play Bond. I think you would be fantastic, especially in that tuxedo. That would be awesome. Let me throw this out to you guys since we're talking Bond. Do you think Bond should always be British, or do you think that we could have a Bond with a non-British accent? Do you think that we could ever have an American Bond? For me, I think similar, that the Doctor should always be a guy. I think Bond should always be British, but that's just me. Max Relax says you can't put a price on the message. Gillette paid $8 billion for a similar message, and they have no regrets. Indeed. Oh, Gillette, you never learn. But the one thing also that I will say about this film, one, I don't think the trailer really did it any favors, and two, I didn't see a lot of advertising for it. I didn't really see it trending, at least. Well, I haven't been on Twitter very much. I've got to admit, I tend to not go on that site if I can help it. But there just didn't seem to be the interest that we've had in the past for Bond films, which is a shame. Let's see. Everybody's saying British. Pod Racing says British. Archer says British. Andy Masterson says British. TZ Canadian, British. It says as, but he's from New Zealand. MB Geek says an American Bond. No, Bond is British indeed. I think we're all on the same page, but I had to throw it out there. Bond is British indeed. It was just a thought, but I am glad. And Project Storytime says hashtag tired mark for Bond. Get that trending. Mr. Haha Oni, I think he should stay British due to Ian Fleming creating the character of people he knew from his own British intelligence career. Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's possibly the only way that they would ever kind of get away from it, because obviously now we don't have any more of Ian Fleming's books for them to work off. But for me, I hope they keep the essence of the character. And as we were saying earlier, I would really like to go back to the whole idea of a retro Bond. I think that would be pretty awesome. I know people say they don't want to see a misogynistic, womanizing Bond, but you don't have to go in that direction. But bring back the charisma, bring back the suave, bring back the vodka martinis and the Aston Martins. Bring back the essence of the character as well as the danger. MB Geek says we have an American Bond. It's Jason Bourne. Well said. Very true. So guys, just to sum up, would I recommend this film? If you have watched all of the other Bond films, I would say give it a go. It's certainly not the worst Bond film out there, and as we were saying, I think it definitely benefited from being put back as long as it did. There are reshoots, there are characters that have been cut down, thank God. There are scenes that were reported that didn't happen, and I'm very, very glad that they didn't. But on the whole, it was overly long for me. I didn't like the song. I thought it was very forgettable, and you could have trimmed probably a good 40 minutes from this film, and it really wouldn't have made that big a difference to the plot. It was too overly complicated and too convoluted, and the bad guy that we had was ultimately kind of forgettable. But I think this is probably the send-off that Daniel Craig wanted for his character, and he certainly got the ending. He does what Bond always does in the end. He saves the world, but this time by sacrificing himself. And Pod Racing Palpatine says in the novels his drink of choice is scotch. It is, yeah. Well, bring back a scotch drinking Bond. I can get behind that as well. And Too Much 77. Hello, Lovey says, amen. Good to see you. Pod Racing Palpatine, does he retire? Oh, honey. Yes, he does. He retires. And Jamal, it's good to see you. He says, thank God the Daniel Craig era is over. Indeed. Yeah, I hope that the franchise is kind of put on ice for a few years, and perhaps they will bring it back with a new Bond. But I can't see the character being brought back with any respect at the moment, especially not with the way this last Bond has gone. So guys, as always, I will leave it up to you to decide if you want to see this film. There are things that I enjoyed, there are things that I didn't enjoy. At the end of the day, it wasn't the worst Bond film, but it certainly wasn't a great end to a beloved character, if not a beloved Bond actor. Archer Collins says Bond retires to live on a farm. He goes out with a bang. Oh my god, you guys, I love it. And Max Relax says, I will save my money for Dune. Hopefully seeing it next weekend. Yep, that will be the next big one for me as well. I'm hoping that it's going to be a great film. I've heard good things about it, so I am looking forward to it. And I'm also really hoping that Ghostbusters will be, if not, a amazing film, at least a fun film. And I think that's what we really need at the moment. We need the fun back in the cinema. So, guys, a massive thank you to everybody who joined today. Huge thank you to everybody who joined the membership, to everyone who sent super chats. You guys are the best. And let me just say a huge thank you to everybody who joined me yesterday for the Band of Brothers stream. It was an absolute honor to get to talk about that with Paris and Golgo 13. And as we were saying, guys, we have this amazing event coming up. We have the first episode, Kurahi, tonight at 7 p.m. Central on Loki's Mornings of Mischief. Loki and guests, they are going to take the first episode and review it and talk about it in depth and tell everybody why Band of Brothers is such a brilliant show. I couldn't recommend it more to you guys, to anybody who hasn't seen it, to anybody who's watching along with us. Please do join. This will be going on for the next 2 weeks. And we've got some fantastic content creators, each taking a episode and really getting into it and talking about the characters, the cast, the history, and why this show is so important, and to celebrate it and to celebrate our veterans as well. And a huge thank you to Max Relax. Thank you, sweetheart. He sends us a super sticker, and it's a pear that says "Keep it up." Thank you, honey. Much appreciated. And Jamala says, "Love these streams. One of my favorite podcast style shows from a standout girl." Thank you, sweetheart. I will be back as always on Wednesday. I've got a special guest with me, and I also be back on Friday, and I have a special guest then. Also on Wednesday, I will be joining the it skipped on me, the gorgeous Arwen Avalon, and we will be back on her channel for Pink and Purple in the afternoon. I've got some more shorts to be released with the toys, so those will be coming out, and I'm also working on a new series of pre-recorded 5-minute videos as well. So guys, lots more content to come. So a massive thank you to everybody who joined me today. You guys are the best as always. I couldn't do this without you. It's an honor each time to get to sit and chat with you. So a huge thank you. And guys, I hope to see you all this evening. If not, I will definitely see you in the chats. And I hope to see you on Wednesday. Take care, everyone. And yep, Chris has got it. Take care, everyone, and see you tonight for some Band of Brothers at Loki's. Absolutely. Well said. So, guys, have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a fantastic Monday. And I hope to see you guys soon. Much love to you. Mwah. Take care, guys.